send out a Zoom link for it, and I'll get an email to David to send out to the membership. But if we can maybe get it out on social media and stuff as well once the link is set up. Okay, now I'll go to attendance here. Just give me a sec. Okay. Mr. Carlos is here. Ms. Goodman?
I'm here.
Is she online?
Yeah.
Okay. I am here. Mr. Fury?
Here.
Mr. Lallemont? Is he online? Yes, no?
No.
No?
Uh-uh.
Mr. Lutz, is he online?
Yes.
Here.
This is being really
Okay.
quiet.
We have Mr. Burrows is here. Mr. Liberty is here. Mr. Kane is here. We have Mr. Seaback, Mr. Bacon. Okay, and so just missing Joshua Lallemont unless he's come on.
Yes.
He has? Okay, great. So.
No, he's not on, sorry.
Oh, all right. If you could let me know if you.
Wait, he's communications, right?
Yes,
Yeah, he's on now.
he is.
Yes.
Got it, okay. All right, Mr. Chair, the entire board is here, but we do have 2 vacant seats of Mr. Treasurer and campaigns.
Okay. We have quorum, so we'll go ahead and get started here. First opportunity we have is for public comment. For those of you that are here because of you want to speak to an open seat and you're throwing your hat in, you'll have an opportunity to speak to that when you call for that. But if anybody here would like to speak in the public comments, go ahead now. Introduce yourself if you would, please.
Frank Atwood, I'm your liaison to Center Right Coalition. Part of what was passed out was cut rating of Colorado legislatures. What's said there stays there. The literature is distributed. 2 points of discussion, but I won't go into details. One was, should Republicans vote to take themselves out of the primary or stay in the primaries? The other is LEAP, which consensus was that the LEAP vote, although it says marijuana tax dollars will go to schools, that may have convinced some people to sponsor it. Consensus now is that it's counterproductive and all it will do is increase the black market. And so that's that report. Thank you, sir.
I have a question for you, Mr. Atwood.
Sure.
Could you repeat what you said about the primaries? I think I kind of lost you.
The Republican Party's going through a crisis that will be resolved this Saturday. Crisis is the wrong word. Discussion and decision of should they withdraw from primaries and hold it at the caucus convention level rather than participate in primaries. The idea being that the primaries are open to everyone except minor parties. And should the unaffiliated be deciding who should be in the nominees for the Republican Party. I'm babbling that, but
No, I understand. What do they have to do to opt out? Does it have to be in their
to
bylaws?
opt out, they need 75%, and they do not think they'll get 75%. But that's, the Randy Corcoran crowd is pushing for opting out, as evidenced by his editorial in the newspaper. But I think the concern is that they're going to get more than 50%, but not the 75%. and it makes that supermajority that much more conspicuous.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Atwood. Does everybody review the agenda? And is there any additions you'd like to add at this point? Are we hearing none? Do we have approval? Any objections to the approval of the agenda as written? Okay. Agenda has been approved. Reports from affiliate representatives. Do we have anybody here from Arapahoe?
I know I
Yes.
moved that.
This is Josh.
Hi, Josh, go ahead.
So tomorrow night is our Rapid Happy Hour. We'll be holding a town hall with two candidates for Aurora City Council, Joey Hamilton and Scott Lee. It's at Rancho Alegre off of Chambers in Mississippi. It starts at 6:30, so everyone can make it.
Thank you, Josh. Anybody here from Boulder? Denver?
Yeah, the location that the LP Denver's been meeting was Rue Bar. They've actually appeared to have gone out of business. So we are still looking for a new location for our meetings. Our next one will be next Tuesday, 21st, from 6:30 to 8:30. We hope to have a location figured out in the next day or two.
Would you make sure that you, once you have a new location, that you let David know? And
Yep.
also, you're taking care of the meetup stuff, so you'll update that?
Yep.
Okay. Anything else? All right, do we have anybody here from Douglas? El Paso? Jefferson?
Yeah, Ross, here at Libertarian Party, Jefferson County. Update for the last month, had a like up on West Colfax. On the pretty well, and our next meeting this day. It's going to be at Colorado. It is on our Facebook page, and it's on our and that is located in the meeting room that in the billiards area. And they've actually redone the room. So that's plus. The topics. There's two topics. One is blatant disregard for the Constitution from President Biden. Back and two with talking about like the fall. So topic, you can make it. It should be a good discussion.
Russ, we have a very bad connection with you. I'm not sure that we got most of what you said. If you have anything that you feel is very important, would you call in again and we'll give you another crack at this?
Okay.
Mike, would you turn up that speaker a little bit, please?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, our external one isn't working correctly. I can try it again.
While we're waiting for Ross, we have anybody from Mesa? Or Pueblo? We'll give Ross just a moment. If he has anything further to add or anything that he wants to reiterate, we'll give him an opportunity and then we'll move on.
Yeah, this speaker's not working.
We have Ross back?
Yeah, he's on his phone though, so that might be the issue.
Okay. Ross, is there anything you'd like to add to your report for Jefferson?
Yeah, our meeting is next Thursday, and the topics are going to be the Joe Biden trashing the Constitution with his vaccine mandate that he doesn't have no authority to pass. And then the other topic is going to be the ballot initiative issues. We're going to be at Holiday Lane, Colorado, and I hope you can make it.
Okay, thank you. Reports from the...
Larimer County.
Okay, thank you, go ahead.
Well, I was in communication with them, and they're going to have a meetup in 2 weeks. Sorry, I don't have the details, but
Okay,
Larimer County will be getting together in
very good.
2 weeks from.
Beautiful. Would you
Yes,
stay in
It's in the
contact?
Discord. Yeah.
Also stay in contact with Kyle here about that, and make sure he gets that posted so we can get more people out to attend the meeting.
Sure will, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, reports from the LNC representative.
Well, I don't know
Charles?
if that's what I am right now. I call myself the secretary in exile. So I'm sure I just would like to answer questions rather than reliving that nightmare. The only thing I would add is that I have filed an appeal with the National Judicial Committee, and I feel that it was well written. However, the National Judicial Committee is very reluctant to overturn LNC decisions, so chances are probably less than 50-50. But if anyone has any questions on the series of unfortunate events, I would rather just answer questions rather than reliving it. All right.
Okay, seeing no questions. Next thing we have is a Region 1 resolution. Would you like to read this out loud, Ms. Harless?
Well, it is my resolution, so
Yep.
hold on one second.
Has everybody read this already?
One moment. So, I'd like to read it. If there's a second, then I will speak to it. So it reads, whereas our regional representative, Chris Lucchini, did not properly represent the expressed positive will of the region or Colorado. Whereas our regional representative, Chris Lucchini, inappropriately pressured states to his will by threatening to resign if a vote did not go his way, and then participated in that vote. Whereas the current Libertarian National Committee has retaliated against a whistleblower and lost the trust of the Libertarian Party of Colorado, with several individual members accepted. Be it therefore resolved, the Libertarian Party of Colorado withdraws its active participation in Region 1 and repudiates the representation of Chris Lucchini, and be it therefore resolved, the Libertarian Party of Colorado wishes to be unofficially considered as part of Region 0 and to be represented by National Vice Chair Ken Molman. And be it therefore resolved, the Libertarian Party of Colorado wishes to express to regional alternate Alex Flores that this action should not be taken as any reflection upon him and hopes to work with him in the future.
That is also a motion. Do I hear a second? Second doesn't mean you agree with it, simply means you want to hear the arguments.
I'll second it.
Okay? Ms. Harless, would you like to speak to this?
Okay. Trying to speak to it without breaking decorum, as it were, and just state factual things. Personally, just in general, I've been a Region 1 representative before. Prior to this, I have not been particularly happy with our representation. The regional representative expects each of the state chairs to write his report, basically. Just says, email me and tell me what's going on, which is not really how representation is supposed to take place. And I haven't seen any active advocation for the state of Colorado on the LNC. Meanwhile, Ken Molman has actively reached out to me to assure us that he understands our concerns about our data after New Hampshire, that he has personally made backups of the data and would be willing to even defy the LNC to give us our data back in the event such an unfortunate circumstance ever happened to us. Chris Lucchini was not a reliable transmitter of the truth, let me put it that way, to several Region 1 chairs, and in fact had said several Mises Caucus states had represented to him just do what you want, which included Nevada, and that was not an accurate representation of the truth. And in fact, he did pressure states. I do not think this is somebody who has our best interest at heart. And in fact, I do believe he will resign if I'm reinstated anyway, and I don't think we're being represented well. And I think it's about time that the states showed their power. And part of their power is to say, we don't want you representing us, and we think Ken Mulman would do a better job. And I do think Ken Mulman would do a better job. He's actually done better as Region 1 than a lot of the regional representatives on the LNC. I have spoken to Mr. Mulman to let him know I was making this motion, and he is more than willing to represent us if that's what we should so desire.
Okay. Anybody else? Mr. King?
Yeah, I'm open to it. I don't understand the consequences of leaving the region or how like the machine gears of that work out. I'll back you with a verbal resolution. I just don't understand fully what backing out of the region would, what are the consequences of that. So at this point, unless we like learn a little bit more in discussion.
I can address it.
Okay.
Being region represented before, we cannot actually back out of the region. This is a symbolic gesture. We can say we don't want you speaking for us and we want Ken Mulman speaking for us. But we are in Region 1 until next convention. Other than a symbolic act, and I believe Nevada is also considering this, there's no repercussions. Our representation will be exactly the same, just what I believe will be a better representative. States aren't required to join regions. A lot of states just decline and let the vice chair by default represent them. There's usually 2 or 3 states every time, and I think this time was Idaho and Mississippi?
North Dakota.
No, they're in a region
Are
one.
they now?
Mississippi, I believe. Might be Missouri. It's one of them MISS states. So there's 0 repercussions. Nothing will functionally change. It's basically a symbolic act saying we're not happy.
I will speak to this briefly. The regional representatives have one job, and that's to represent the states that are within their region. Unlike all of the other members on the LNC, the Region 1 jobs are to represent the states. All the other representatives are there to represent the body as a whole. What happened with Mr. Lucchini is that when he took a vote from all the states as to where they stood on the vote to discharge Karen Ham.
No, I'm not been discharged. Thank you very much.
Forgive me. The vote to suspend Karen Ham. He had 5 noes, hard noes, 1 yes,
Which was him.
his own vote, and then the rest were
Abstain.
abstentions. A couple of those abstentions did say go ahead and vote your conscience, but most did not. He chose to vote his own will rather than that of the states that he represented. And thus he did not represent his region in the way that he should have. These states are in the region.
There's 11.
These states. What?
11.
Do we know what their totals were? Sorry, did you say that?
5 no, 1 yes, and 5 abstentions.
Okay, I thought you said yes.
Yep.
Did that one, that his yes made the difference? Is that what
No,
happened?
there was no, abstention is effectively a no vote.
What I mean is, it sounds like more people voted no than yes,
Correct.
but then that was just within
Our region.
our region, but then in a broader,
He's only here to represent our region.
right, I understand, so, I totally don't know what's going on.
Yeah. But yeah, out of the 11 states, bound by a regional agreement to represent those 11 states. And so he took a poll to see where they stood, as most regional representatives do, and the only affirmative yes vote was his own, which is kind of, he gets 2 votes, one as chair of New Mexico and then one again on the LNC, which is why I don't think state chairs should be regional representatives. That's a whole other matter. But the only actual opinions addressed were all no's, and he went to the LNC and voted yes.
Oh, I see. So basically, he took 1 out of 11 and voted that way instead.
He took the abstentions
Yeah.
as do what you want, when that's not what an abstention is. An abstention is, basically, most of the abstentions said, leave me the hell alone, I don't give a shit about national. Don't bother me anymore, I don't want to give an opinion. He took them as, do what you want, and that isn't what an abstention is. 2 states did say do what you want. So if you wanted to take those as yeses, it would still be 5-3, and abstentions are functionally no's in votes that require the entire body.
Yeah.
Daniel Lutz wants to say something.
Okay.
Daniel?
Thank you. As I understand it, there is no laid out protocol for the way regional representatives are supposed to take the temperature of the region. Is that correct?
It depends on what you mean by laid out protocol. I mean, he decided to take a poll. Our regional agreement does
Is
say.
it a bylaw or a standing rule?
There is.
Something codified.
Our regional agreement says that the regional representative shall consult with the state chairs on all important decisions.
Okay, but it doesn't like specifically say that the regional representative has to adhere to a majority or a plurality vote or anything like that. It just says they have to consult with them, correct?
Correct, but
I would feel uncomfortable repudiating him as improperly doing his job as a representative when we have not properly codified the ways to do that. Now, not properly representing Colorado within that region, I would be all for, but this feels like, and pardon me for this, but it almost feels like what happened to you, like interpreting the rules in one way in order to slap someone's hand. And I don't want us to be as bad as the LNC.
we're just speaking for Colorado, though. He improperly represented Colorado, so we don't want him representing us. It has no effect on the rest of the region.
Whereas our regional representative, Chris Lupini, did not properly represent the express.
You're cutting out, Daniel, say that again?
Where it says right in there, represent the express positive will of the region or Colorado, I would want to take out region in that instance. Is there any record of this inappropriate pressure? Like, I'm particularly curious about that because if there is record of that, that's the kind of thing that pressuring people to vote your way, I believe, would warrant a censure.
Wayne had personal discussions with him, and he had told other, I don't have anything in writing. It is, Wayne heard it personally from Mr. Lucchini, and I heard it from other state chairs.
Okay, not that I don't believe you, Mr. Chair, or anyone else, but making statements like this in writing without evidence in writing to back it up is thin ice. I don't like dancing on thin ice.
I would be completely okay with deleting that paragraph. One reason why I would oppose against the expressed positive will of the region is because I would not be in favor of Colorado, because Colorado agreed to be in a region, to say, well, the entire region didn't agree with us, therefore we're going to peevishly do something. While it is obviously not representing Colorado, I think it's important for Colorado to state that Colorado is part of the region and our side of this had it. So while I wouldn't vote no if that was taken out, I do think that's a mistake to be taken out. I do not have a problem with removing the second whereas.
To maybe kind of, well, correct me if I'm wrong, this resolution's not open for amendment, is it?
Yes, it is.
It is open for amendment, okay.
Absolutely. I can tell you the way resolutions get amended is they're done seriation. And what that means is you perfect each paragraph, one paragraph at a time, and then take one vote on the whole.
Mr. King?
Why just full on leave, and why not like join another region, and then also, okay, and then also the Alex Flores paragraph 2, I don't agree with that. I don't even know the guy.
Alex Flores, informally, I know, would have said he would have followed the positive will of the region. And because we don't know him, I think it's important. I mean, again, we could take that out. To say it's not any reflection upon him doesn't make a statement one way or another other than saying this isn't about you, which I think is accurate. It doesn't say we love you or we hate you. Basically, we don't know him. I do. Colorado doesn't. But I think it's important to be clear that this isn't, like, Alex didn't do anything this time.
No, Alex was in support of the Region 1's directive to vote no, but he didn't have a vote because Chris was there. And the alternates don't have a vote if the primary is there. So he, in personal conversation with him, he was frustrated that that the will of the region was not represented. So we are in a position right now where if we would like to amend, let's start with Daniel. You had something you wanted to change in the first or second paragraph. What are those changes you would like to propose?
First, one at a time.
Let's start with the first paragraph. Daniel, you with us?
He's muted.
I am here. Sorry, I lost my link real quick. Let me pull it back up. All right, so reworking the wording. I know this is going to sound like nitpicking, but I'm going to do the anarchist thing here. The representation of Region 1 by Mr. Lucchini did not feel, I'm catching myself in there.
Point
Did
of
not.
personal privilege.
Excuse me, Daniel. Go ahead, Mr. King.
I'm gonna vote no on this. We'll give you the second one. Come back next month. I don't want to get hung up on this.
This needs to go out right now.
No, it does not. No, it doesn't. But that's not a point of personal. Point of personal privilege is
Well, call
I
me
can't
back.
hear somebody. It's too cold in here. Not. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
There are other ways to make that objection, Mr. King.
Objection.
Well, you have to wait till.
Okay, Mr. Liz, would you finish your position, please?
Yes. Let's see. Whereas the representation of Region 1 by Mr. Lucchini did not meet with the standard Colorado felt a regional representative should. I want to put, this makes it feel like there was almost like there was a codified rule, but I wanted to really put the onus on his head, if that makes sense.
Mr. Lutz, because
Yes, ma'am.
of Mr. Kane, what I know the objection he's gonna make next, would you be amenable to you and I workshopping this offline? And we will put
Absolutely.
it to an email vote.
Absolutely. Would that be a motion to lay on the table then?
It would be a motion to postpone to email vote.
Okay. In that case, I'll go ahead and.
To an email vote.
Second?
Do we have any further discussion on this? Hearing none, the motion passes that this discussion on the resolution will be worked on and voted on by email. Ms. Goodman, did you have something you wanted to say?
No.
Okay.
Are you sure?
I would like to add something.
Go ahead.
Sorry, no, one of my kids was talking to me. I missed the first part of what you said. I'm sorry.
Okay. John, you had something?
Just that I think education of the situation, like I need to, I definitely, that should be part of this process because I feel totally like.
Fair enough.
You know.
In our conversation, I'll give you a little bit more
Okay,
background.
all right, thank you.
We've had the time to talk about today.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a second resolution, also by Ms. Harless. Would you like-
That's not my resolution.
Oh, forgive me, this is Mr.
Wait, we didn't, was there an objection to the motion to postpone to an email?
There's not.
Okay.
No objection, no objection. Second resolution has been brought by Mr. Seebeck as a suggestion. If anybody would like to sponsor this after he reads it, they can do that and make a motion to have it brought to the table. Mr.
And
Seebeck?
Mr. Harlow?
Yes.
I'm leaving the room for this because I don't think people will be able to speak freely about me with me sitting here.
Okay.
And the whole thing makes me uncomfortable. So, yeah, somebody just grab me from outside whenever
Okay.
this is done and I'll do the
Can
minutes
you go for a
from.
cigarette break when you don't
Yeah.
smoke? Yeah. Okay, Mr. Seebeck, would you like to read this first and then speak to it?
Okay, this is a resolution which started with somebody else's resolution, which was presented to me with the request to modify it for our purposes. So, worked through it, came up with what we have here, and here goes. Whereas Karen Harlos has served honorably as Secretary of the National Libertarian Party, and whereas Ms. Harlos was reelected by delegates in 2020 by running on an open and unambiguous campaign promise to oppose and root out corruption from within the party ranks, and whereas Ms. Harlos has fulfilled that campaign promise by exposing recent corruption in LP New Hampshire that implicated LP National Chair Joe Bishop Henchman, as confirmed by the recent report of the Special Investigative Committee that revealed that the chair guided and likely initiated this strategy, in quotes, of usurpation. And whereas the current LNC has spent more energy and devoted more resources to removing Ms. Harlos from her elected position that has opposing blatant totalitarianism resulting from the ongoing illegal COVID-19 tyranny state. And whereas that illegal COVID-19 tyranny state includes stay-at-home orders, forced injections, campaigns to institute vaccine passports, forcible closure of various sectors of the economy, imposition of mask mandates, fascism, medical Jim Crow, enactment of state restrictions against public assembly and religious worship, and other outrageous government lunacies. And whereas the Bill of Particulars removal motion against Ms. Harlos wrongly characterizes criticism of fellow LNC officials as harassment and explicitly purports that monetizing libertarian content is somehow immoral and detrimental to the party, and features a list of minor offenses of decorum that could apply to, yet not prosecuted against, many members of the same body. And whereas the written complaints against Ms. Harlos also raised the absurd claim that the Secretary violated the non-aggression principle through public criticism of her peers, effectively redefining and perverting the cornerstone maxim of libertarian philosophy, the non-aggression principle, to include non-aggressive expressions of her own well-founded opinions. And whereas by attempting such redefinition and perversion, the complainants seek to embrace the completely anti-libertarian positions of censorship and cancel culture, which undermine the fundamental core of the party and libertarianism and could lead to destroying the party. Therefore, resolved, the Libertarian Party of Colorado expressly rejects the suspension and attempted removal of Karen Ann Harlos as National Secretary by the LNC, and resolved that the Libertarian Party of Colorado insists that the LNC shift its attention and resources from removing duly elected national officers for personality conflicts and bogus charges, in quotes, to opposing the evil of the state and its widespread propensity to violate individual rights in every corner of the world, especially in this current insane time.
That will serve as a motion. Do we have a second to bring it to discussion?
Second.
Okay. Would you like to speak to this, Mr. Seebeck, since you were involved in the writing of this?
Well, okay. I was present at the LNC meeting when they did this. And frankly, on that Sunday morning, prior to the section of the meeting where the suspension motion was heard, in my opinion, out of order, I said my piece to the LNC as a member for public comments. And I basically tore them a new one in front of the webcast, in front of everybody, saying point blank that for the past 18, 19 months, they've been sitting around not accomplishing a darn thing when we had the opportunity presented to this party on a silver platter to frame the entire COVID issue and debate on our terms to benefit our candidates and to benefit the public, framing it in the way of economic and personal freedoms versus the heavy-handedness of government attached to panic over this virus. They did nothing. I said my piece. I sat down. They went on later to the section of the meeting where they did the suspension. I had to leave for the airport, so I didn't catch all of it. But there were people there who had their minds made up in advance. There was not an open mind on some of this stuff, and that's not fair either. But that has to do with the appeal and a whole other story. As far as the New Hampshire situation, I don't know how many people are aware of it, but the short form of it was there was an attempt to totally disrupt the New Hampshire party. It was instituted by the national chair in part. Ms. Harlos investigated, got on the ball immediately when it happened, exposed the corruption. The LNC was forced to do a separate independent committee. The committee did their investigation, substantiated everything that Ms. Harlos had found, presented that report at this same meeting on the Saturday, the day before all the suspension hearing. The bottom line of it, and the resolution reflects that, is that Ms. Harlos did her fiduciary duty. She investigated the situation because the party was at legal and financial liability for what happened under both election law and New Hampshire state law. And she was pilloried for it. And that isn't fair to her. It's not fair to the members of the party who elected her. I will admit I'm one of them. And the bottom line of it is, for us here, we have the ability to take a stand and say, just a cotton pick a minute here, this is wrong. And that's what the gist of this motion's all about.
Any questions of Mr. Seebeck or discussion? Now's your opportunity. If I don't hear anybody come up, we're going to go ahead and bring this to a vote. You have something?
No, let's vote.
Okay. I'm gonna put the question right now. The question is, the motion is to move this resolution, and then of course we will send this to the LNC. And Mike, would you take notes and call the roll?
That's exactly what I was going to suggest was a roll call. I don't have a list of
Vice.
people though, so if you'll rattle them off.
Vice?
Okay. Vice Chair?
I vote yes.
Okay.
Treasurer? We don't have a treasurer. Forgive me.
Keep going.
Affiliates?
Yes.
Campaigns?
That's vacant.
Now, you have an opportunity here, Mr. Burrows. You can either vote yes, no, or you can abstain if you feel as though you don't have sufficient information.
No, on this one, I definitely vote yes. I think that's
Okay.
clear.
Thank you.
Was that for campaigns?
No, it should be for the
He's
le-
the
He's, yeah, he's
Oh, forgive me.
legislative.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
We don't
Campaigns
have
is vacant.
Put him down for like
Yep.
communications,
Yes.
fundraising,
Yes.
membership,
Yes.
outreach.
Yes.
All right. Vote totals are, Mr. Seabeck?
I have only 9 votes. We have treasurer, well, not treasurer's vacant, right?
Yep.
And campaigns is vacant, right?
Yep.
Hang on. Give me one moment just to make sure I have this right.
I didn't vote, and Karen Ann has recused herself.
Right, I knew that part, so.
Actually, treasurer has an acting treasurer, right?
We do, and John is not here. He's out of town.
Right.
So that technically is a non-voting.
No, it's a voting position.
No, I mean, he's not voting.
Yes.
It's not an abstention or yes or no, it's a non-voting, yeah. And campaigns is also not voting, correct? Because they're not here?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, the tally is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 yeses, 0 no's, 0 abstentions. We have 1 recusal.
Okay, that carries.
And 2 non-voting.
Thank you, Mr. Seabeck. Next item, would somebody go get Karen Ann, please? Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you for helping us get through that quickly. Next, we have
Board reports.
board reports. I have nothing to add to my board report. I'm hoping that everybody had an opportunity to read all the board reports from the directors. And if you have, now's the time to address any questions you have of those directors. Anna, is there anything that you have to add?
No, nothing further to add.
Okay. Treasurer's vacant. Would now be the right time to bring up our treasurers for
Yes, that's,
one? Okay. We have 3 people that have thrown their hat in the ring to apply for the treasurer position. And I'm going to allow the person that is here in person to speak first. And would you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, sir. My name is Gavin Kaczynski. I appreciate the opportunity to be considered for the treasurer position. I've been a Libertarian since the early 90s. In fact, Ron Paul was my congressman at one point. And I'm a huge fan of Dave Smith, and in fact heard Ms. Harlow's on his program earlier this week, I think, or last week, and that was very exciting to hear. Currently, I'm a CFO for a healthcare organization in northern Colorado. I also have a finance and accounting consulting business. So I've been the CFO for about a dozen different organizations in the last 15 years. Organizations from $1 million to 180 million in revenue. 6 of those organizations have been on QuickBooks, which I understand this party is using, and so it's a software package that I'm very familiar with. I am very familiar with Tracer, and this is going to be a little embarrassing, but I'll confess in front of all of you. A good friend of mine became the chairman of a major political party in Larimer County. I'd like to say this was 20 years ago, but it was fairly recently. And since he's a good friend, as a developer up in the north, he knows me and he knows what I do, he asked me to be the treasurer. So I was the treasurer of a major political party in Larimer County for 2 years. I say that with my shoulders sort of shrunk because I did not enjoy it. But I've done this job before for a party that had an annual budget of about $200,000 a year for Larimer County. So I did that as a favor, and the party actually didn't even know that I wasn't registered to that particular party. I was unaffiliated at the time. So
That is funny.
I thought so too. Thank you.
We won't hold that against you.
No, actually, that's funny.
So I've done this job before for a county party, and I also have many years of experience in finance and accounting, and it's a job that I could do very easily with very short learning curve. And I've also demonstrated trust and integrity to large boards and to executive leadership over that time. Personally, I'm married. I have 2 children, 17 and 13 years old. We live in Fort Collins. And I also serve in a prison ministry at Sterling Correctional Facility. And so I've seen the prison industry from the inside and know just how devastating it can be to some of the nonviolent offenders whom I've gotten to know personally. So the Libertarian cause is one that's very dear to me and has been for several decades, and I'm happy to answer any questions, but at that I'll just shut my mouth and say thank you very much for the opportunity, and I hope to get a chance to serve. Thank you.
Any questions of Mr. Kaczynski? Ms. Harlows?
David can go first.
Mr. Atkin?
How many hours a week can you devote to this project?
Oh, thank you for asking. In fact, I should have mentioned that I was considering running for this position during the convention and spoke with your previous treasurer, whose name I forget. Is it John?
John Hirschman.
Okay. And spoke to him and talked about the responsibilities of the job. And it's one that I would make time for. Let's put it that way. It's a priority in my life, and I would make time for it. But the way he outlined the job, it seems very doable.
Okay.
I hope that answers your question. I don't mean to dodge a question, but I think he said 5 to 10 hours a week, and that's something that I absolutely could make time for.
Okay.
Ms. Harlows?
It's somewhat unrelated because it's just curious. What prison ministry?
Kairos?
Kairos! I'm a Via Cristo gal.
Oh, Vita Cristo, yeah.
I was at Via Cristo 3 years ago.
De Coloris.
They're
Inside baseball, sorry.
They're cousins.
Yes,
sort of.
kissing
Yeah,
cousins,
very
for sure.
similar. Thank you for your service.
Any further questions for Mr. Kaczynski? Hearing none. Our next candidate is Kevin Brzezinski. Is Kevin online?
No.
He's not. Okay. Has everybody seen the treasurer applications?
Vernon said he would be here. Is he online?
Vernon Curry, are you with us?
Not that I see.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Okay. Looks like Mr. Kaczynski is the only one that has taken the time to join us tonight. Ms. Harlows?
I just want to be absolutely fair to everyone. I did only send the invite this morning because of the unfortunate events of last month. So I just want to be fair to Vernon and Kevin to just make the board aware of that. Though kudos to Gavin for being able to make it on such short notice.
Mr. Ecken?
There's a fourth name on the...
He withdrew.
What?
Noah withdrew.
Okay.
Okay, we have 3 choices here. Has everybody read the applications?
I'll excuse myself so y'all can talk poorly about me.
Like me?
All right, guys, I think we're gonna go ahead and bring this to a vote.
Well, no, I wanted to talk.
You wanted to speak?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Hang on a second.
I don't know if we want to make a decision tonight, considering we did not give everyone very much opportunity. I'm fine either way, I just wanted to say that, and Kevin is already an affiliate treasurer. That's both a plus and a minus. The plus would be, he's been a Libertarian treasurer. The minus is, we like to get more people involved rather than, so I just wanted to bring that up. I do not know Vernon.
Okay. Mr. Atkin?
Which affiliate is Kevin a treasurer for?
Let me look that up.
He's Arapaho.
Okay.
Well, I guess the next step is decide whether we want to vote on this tonight or whether we want to delay this until we've all had a chance to reach out and discover a little bit more about the other two candidates that we did not hear from tonight.
I make motion to call a question.
There's not a question quite yet.
Oh, man.
No, go ahead.
Mr. King?
Yeah, I'll just say if there's like a bullet point list of exactly what you could possibly want, he just nailed like three of them, and then just like dunked on us even harder, saying he's here right now, so we should just do it and get him in.
Mr. Seebeck?
Is there anything pressing at the moment for the treasurer in terms of any filings or anything like that have to be accomplished within the next month?
John's been taking care of.
There is one, but John is our interim treasurer, so that is being handled correctly. So there's no fire on this one right now. But I think out of fairness to John, he's put in his time and he would rather not be in this position right now. And out of the goodness of his heart and the willingness of his time, he's doing the job. So we need to consider that. Whether we move this to an email vote or vote on it tonight, I think it needs to be done fairly quickly. So I'm going to go ahead and put this to the board. I'm going to ask those who would like to vote tonight to raise their hand. Let's see how many we have that want to do it tonight.
We got Vice Chair Communications, Lutz.
So how many do we have?
Oh, I thought somebody else was counting.
There's 3 on the call.
3 on the call, raising hand raised?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, that's 8 yeses. Those against voting tonight? Do we have any hands raised, Mike?
No.
Okay, hearing none, we will go ahead and bring this to a vote tonight.
I move that we appoint Gavin as our new treasurer.
Second.
Anybody else want to speak to this? Okay, we have a motion to appoint Gavin Kaczynski to be our treasurer.
I want to add one thing, pending his ratification of the statement of principles and application. Have to say, but like.
Of course.
Is appointing different than just conducting the vote?
Same thing.
Same thing, okay.
Yeah.
The motion is to appoint.
So we will conduct the vote on that appointment, right?
Well,
Okay, I understand that.
No, that isn't my intention. My intention is for this to be the vote. If someone would like to amend to make a ballot between various people, they can feel free to do that. But my intent is one and done.
That's what the motion is.
The motion is, has already been seconded.
I
voted on.
I think that since we do have the 2 candidates on the 3 candidates total, that we should conduct the vote with all 3 in mind, even if the people vote for one.
Okay.
I think he's right.
I think that is fair. Is that, your motion is to then amend her motion to?
Yes.
Okay, so the amendment to the motion to appoint Gavin has been amended to vote for any one of the 3 candidates that are on our list. That would include Gavin Kaczynski, Kevin Rasuski, forgive me if I'm butchering his name, and Vernon Curry.
And Noda.
And Noda, which we always have. So I guess we need a second on the amendment.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion on it?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Madam Secretary.
The reason why I will be voting no to the amendment is because I haven't heard any support for anyone other than Gavin. And I think in having public minutes that have 0 votes for certain candidates can be publicly embarrassing. So that's why I made the motion the way I did, to be politic to the other fine candidates. I don't like publicly embarrassing people.
Any further discussion?
Yes, as a counter to that, the public embarrassment kind of goes hand in hand with politics. It's a small public embarrassment to swallow for taking a shot at a state board position. We all win some and lose some.
May I
Okay.
rejoinder?
Second.
May I give a rejoinder?
Go ahead, Madam Secretary.
It's impressed upon me more and more, particularly in the last month. And I'm going to say something that some of my Beata Cristo friends here will understand. There's something that's in a hymn, but it's applicable to life. A line in a song that we all may know, which the song is "They'll Know We're Christians by Our Love," but it says that we should always guard each man's dignity and save each man's pride. And I don't think when it's necessary to embarrass somebody that we do it. And I believe more and more that our guiding philosophy needs to be people before politics. So that's why I did that. And in fact, the very first motion I ever made in the Libertarian Party of Colorado, which Mike was probably there for, when I saw that one of the candidates was about to get slaughtered at convention, I moved for a secret ballot to save Mr. James he had a French last name, public embarrassment. I lost that motion, but I've been consistent, I say now, over 5 years, that I don't believe in humiliating people.
I will speak to this briefly. I think it's important that we don't do anything to chase away the candidates that are not successful tonight. The best we can do is embrace them and get them involved in any other capacity that they may be willing to serve in. So at this point, the amendment is to change the original motion from appointing Gavin to voting for all 3. So we're going to put this to a vote now. A yes vote will allow us to vote for all 3, and no vote will bring us back to the original motion.
A yes vote will adopt the amendment. It's still open to further amendment. You said it will.
I think everybody knows.
Okay, well, not everyone here is as educated in parliamentary stuff. So.
Is everybody clear about what we are voting on right now? We are voting on the amendment. Once the amendment either passes or fails, then we will be back to the main motion.
Can I ask a question about procedural
Sure.
question? Well, what I'm worried about is if we had 3 candidates, or 3 candidates, right? 4, including one that couldn't, that withdrew, but.
And Noda is always a candidate.
Noda. So we have 3 candidates. If we just appoint Gavin without recognizing that we had 3 candidates, it seems like we might be bypassing the election process.
Well, I'll give you my personal input here. I'm speaking as Wayne here. In my opinion, we asked for any other nominations, and we didn't hear anything from any of the board members. And everybody's had, with the exception of you not being able to get on the drive, everybody else has had a chance to read their resumes and their positions. And because we didn't hear any further nominations, that's why the motion was made to appoint Gavin. I think your point is good, but that's the reason for it.
I was reading the room.
Yeah. So guys, right now we are voting on Mr. Burrows' amendment to bring it a vote for all one of the three plus Noda. So we're going to bring that to a vote. Madam Secretary, would you go ahead and take the vote, please?
Okay, you want this, but I didn't think this was going to be roll call, so give me one moment. You were ahead of me, I'm sorry.
We might be able to speed this up. Are there any objections to taking a roll call vote?
What?
Hearing
What?
none?
What?
Gets back.
What? Whoa, no,
just
no,
do it.
let's just
Just
do
take
it.
the
Let's
roll
just
call.
please just, yeah, oh my God. Okay, 1 second. I just wasn't ready, and that is completely my fault. Mr. Burrows,
I vote yes on my amendment.
Mr. Fiore,
No.
Ms. Goodman,
To the amendment, correct?
yes, ma'am.
No on the amendment.
I will vote no. Mr. Kane,
No.
Mr. Lalamont,
No.
Mr. Labrie,
Abstain.
Mr. Lutz.
Yes.
Did I miss anybody? Because my list is kind of old. Mr. Chair, it is 2 yes, 5 no, 1 express abstention.
That amendment failed, so we are back to the original motion, which is to appoint Gavin Kaczynski as the treasurer of the LPCO. Madam Secretary, when you're ready.
Okay, let me just, I'm clearing
So
out
it's
my,
open for further debate. now.
yeah, it is. open
It
for-
is open for debate now that we're back to the original motion, if anybody wants to discuss it further.
Little crickets.
Who the hell's playing cricket over there?
Okay, Mr. Burrows,
I vote yes to appoint Gavin.
thank you. Mr. Fury,
Yes.
Ms. Goodman,
Yes.
I will vote yes. Mr. Kane,
Yes.
Mr. Lalamont,
Yes.
Mr. Labrie,
Yes.
Mr. Lutz,
Mr. Lutz, are you with us?
oh,
Are you muted?
He's muted, yeah.
Mr. Lutz, we can't hear you, you're muted. Go ahead and pass.
well, that's the last vote.
Okay. We'll give him just a second. If he doesn't return in a couple of seconds, we'll go ahead and tally the votes.
I'm back. Sorry, putting the kiddo to bed.
Okay. Mr. Lutz, we are voting on the original motion to appoint Gavin Kaczynski.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, it is 8 yes, 0 no, 0 express abstentions.
Okay. That passes easily. More than easily.
Can I bring him back in?
Fetch him.
And I am sending to his email the form to ratify the SOP and NAP. Once he ratifies those, he's officially a board member and can sit at the table and participate.
Yep.
If you can let him know I sent it to him this morning.
Well, Mr. Kaczynski, you have been appointed the treasurer for the LPCO. Congratulations. There's a couple things. In order for your appointment to be ratified, you will be sent out and it's already sent, a copy to ratify the statement of principles, which is required to be a board member for the LPCO. And then the next step is to get you set up with the Google Drive, which we use for our communication, and get you set up with an email account. Again, if you would, reach out to Mr. Quinlan, the fellow with the hat that's waving at you.
Right here.
That fellow.
So if you guys would get together and get that set up as quickly as possible. Obviously, we've had a couple hiccups in our system here, so we need to get you up and running as quickly as possible, as well as Mr. Burrows.
And Gavin, once you send me back your ratification, you're welcome to sit at the board. You're officially a board member and can participate in this meeting.
So if you have a laptop and you can do it now, you can participate in the meeting.
That's online?
Yes, I sent you a link. It's a jot form that'll have you read the SOP and the NAP pledge, and you just hit assert yes, yes, and hit send. It comes back to me for my records.
Oh, there we are. Okay.
Okay. Back to board reports.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Ecken?
Would you also send me your contact information, database manager at lpcolorado.org? It's on the leadership page.
As well as a photo also.
Photo, bio, and I'll get you set up with a login for the CRM.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, David. And Secretary, it is your turn.
I just have one thing. Last month I had said I was going to be starting an email ballot for approval of the convention minutes. I did not do that because there was an addenda that was necessary for the convention minutes. I felt Mr. Spalding hadn't included a tally of certain votes that I thought was necessary. So I prepared that addenda, and now I'll start the ballot now that I think the convention minutes are as complete as they can be. And I have nothing else to add to my report.
Affiliates.
I have nothing to add.
Communications.
Yes, so the committee for the messaging met last night, and I'll have more on that when I do the report for that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lamont. Fundraising.
Point of order.
Hold on a second, Daniel.
Oh,
Mr.
the
King?
campaigns report? We just skipped over that.
He resigned, so we didn't have his report, I don't think.
Do we have to accept his resignation?
Ah, oh my
Oh,
God.
yes, thank you.
Right. Mr. Kane is right.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Kane.
And I did receive
Love to hear
Gavin's
it.
ratification, so.
You learned
Okay.
it last
If you wanted to.
So you can sit in if you'd like, Mr. Gavin. In fact, I would encourage you to move up a little bit if you will, so that the microphone can pick up your voice. Unfortunately, Greg had to step down from his position as campaigns director. His family obligations were significant, and he was not able to fulfill his obligation to us. And frankly, I'm very, very pleased that he had the integrity to step down rather than hold the position when he couldn't fulfill it. But we do have to accept his resignation, and thank you, Mr. Kane, for catching that. Do we have any opposition to accepting Mr. Kane's,
I knew this moment was
Forgive me,
coming.
I'm trying to remember Greg's last name.
Blooper.
Any opposition to accepting his resignation? Hearing none, okay. Greg's resignation has been accepted. Next, we have fundraising. Go ahead, Daniel.
Nothing further to add.
Okay, I'm not going to ask for a report from legislative right now because we haven't given
Get
him
you
the
set up.
opportunity to even.
I did make notes to do a report. I just haven't.
Would you like to do a verbal report
I'll
right
do a
now? If
verbal
you want,
report,
go ahead,
sure.
please.
So, since being elected last month, I've done several things for understanding the legislative landscape and the problems, mostly around the COVID scenario right now that we're facing. I went to a school board meeting in St. Vrain Valley School District. I talked to 3 board members. I talked to the superintendent, and then later I talked to a principal of a different school. to try to understand what was motivating them for basically their support for essentially, in St. Vrain they have a mask exemption, but they still are trying to go for massive compliance. Anyway, so I was trying to understand their the pressures on them and what was moving them and so on, and then why they could be more flexible, whereas other districts act like they cannot be. Anyway, so that was one aspect. Another aspect was networking with different community groups to try to understand where their concerns lie. So Boulder Stand Up, they're actually having a big protest tonight in front of the Boulder County Health Department. St. Vrain Valley School District Educational Advocates, and also going to our own Northern Colorado Liberty meetup, where there was actually a Republican who is working with, I think, I forgot the name of it, it was a gun rights organization, but he's a lobbyist and knows all the legislative people at the Capitol, so made contact with him. I also looked at other laws in other states that have prevented vaccine mandates for employers, and doing all that research, it kind of went down the drain a little bit last week with the the new announcements, but I still think it is worthwhile. So this next month, I want to reach out to all the people who were running for legislative director before to be ask them for help on the legislative committee. I already have their emails from Karen. In addition to his name was Warren.
The fellow you want to speak with is Mike Stapleton.
Yeah, Mike Stapleton. And then anyway, so I think that we have our work cut out for us. From a legislative point of view, figuring out how to battle this and figuring out how to address it when the federal government is trying to push down all these mandates. But I think there's still plenty of room to push back, and also one of the reasons for these reaching out to a lot of these other community groups is that they're not all necessarily politically, very few are libertarian like we are, but then even not even politically conservative, there's still people on the left who are also opposed to the mandates. If we can find.
You talked to both of them?
What's that?
You talked to both of them?
There's more than you would. There's more than I expected there would be. Anyway, if they had any allies in the state house that were maybe Democrats but still supportive of that point of view, that would be good to somehow figure out how to create a coalition. So.
Now Mike Stapleton will always be Warren to me.
What?
You said Warren, so I'm just like,
So
now I'm picturing Mike Stapleton as Warren.
So would that make him
Sorry, I don't.
No, I'm just joshing him.
So would that make him a former warrant officer?
Thank you, Mr. Burrows. All right, next we have membership.
No additions.
Okay, I have some questions for you.
Mm-hmm.
We've spoken multiple times about the necessity of putting together either a phone banking event or getting some help to recruit national memberships that are here in the state of Colorado. What efforts have been made in that?
No efforts on a phone banking event. I talked to Lutz a little while ago about trying to co-opt his fundraising and membership into one, and then I believe Lutz organized one event that I wasn't able to make it to, and then we haven't talked about it since.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Madam
I
Secretary?
do have phone banking for national memberships later in the agenda.
Okay. Okay.
If that's okay, I'm just was
That's
FYI.
fine, we can bring it back to the table here. Remember, Mr. LeBrie, it's very important, we only have 6 weeks, so we're running out of time.
Okay.
So the priority of this is getting greater every day. outreach.
Yeah, nothing to really add. I'll just reiterate like how crazy COVID is right now. We just had like an impromptu meetup and like 30 plus people showed up, and then we started a group based off that. Now it's like 85 to 100 people are in that group. It's been like 10 days, and we're spinning an actual pack like out of this because it's so not just a libertarian thing. And then I met with some people to talk about that yesterday, and it's looking pretty good, and that pack's probably gonna be up this week.
Good.
So,
I do have a question for you.
okay.
Where do we stand in ordering the signs for the parades and things like that?
They haven't been ordered yet, and this is why I was asking about that debit card. Like, how do I pay?
Debit card should be we have another way to pay for it.
Okay.
We have PayPal set up so that we can pay just about anything we need. Or I was promised by the bank that I should have the debit card in my hand by Wednesday this week.
Okay.
So a couple more days.
All right.
But we can pay by PayPal if we need to. So all we need to do is reach out to Mr. Hirschman, and he will make the arrangements with the vendor and get that bill paid.
Well, Gavin's sitting now, right? As treasurer, so it would be up to him.
Actually, that is true. But I think at this point, he doesn't have access to all the checking accounts and everything yet. That'll have to be passed over to him. We have to get him as a signatory on the accounts with the bank. So at this point, let's put that in Mr. Hirschman's lap for at least another week. So, Madam Secretary?
If depending on how many signs we're ordering, Office Depot actually has a decent price, and you can pay them directly with PayPal.
Okay. All right. Well, if you want to get together with Mr. Kane and give him the address, whatever.
It's
Doesn't
OfficeDepot.com.
make any difference. I just want to get the signs ordered.
Yeah, I get. But do we have any events like coming up? I mean,
We have the Castle Rock Star Lighting, which might be fun to have a couple people walking around with some shocking signs. And more than likely, Douglas County will have a booth for that. I'm still involved as a member of the Douglas County group. But my guess is they will have a booth again. But we could very well have some people walking around with some shock signs that have to do, I'd like to have an unusually large amount of signs that go to the COVID mandates.
I'm going to send you a share to a folder I have of because I'm always designing my sign stash graphics. I'll send it to you right now.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, I'll get those orders as soon as I have like a way to pay for them. If I can log in.
Just reach out to John, and of course, as soon as I have the debit card in hand, I'll deliver it to Gavin. Mr. Seebeck?
Do we have a booth this weekend at the Pueblo Chili Festival?
We have a Pueblo affiliate now, so that wouldn't be our.
It used to be the state handler, that's what I was asking.
Yeah, no,
It's
Pueblo.
not at the state level. I haven't heard anything from them.
I haven't either, that's why I was
Yeah, that would be
asking.
totally stepping on the affiliate's toes. I mean,
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Have you been notified of anything in Pueblo County? I didn't see that in your
I
report.
believe they did not get back to me. Yeah, I didn't hear anything from them on their events.
Okay.
Our meeting's tomorrow, I think.
I think it might be to your advantage to reach out to them again and see if they have something, because if they do, we need to make sure that we have, if they have a booth, they don't need all the signs, but maybe a couple of them in the back of the booth would be good. And of course, if they have more volunteers that are necessary to man the booth, you could have people walking around with the signs.
This thing is the biggest street block party
Yeah.
in the city for the year.
Without question.
any
All right, thank you, Mr. Kane. That brings us back to the agenda. Staff reports. Mr. Eck, can you have anything for us?
I do. First thing I'd like to do is apologize to the secretary for suggesting that she be censored for not providing the agenda on time.
Apology accepted. We all get funky. We're libertarians.
Okay. Second, I'd like to go through a couple of items on my report. I'd like to thank the affiliates director, Kyle Fury, for contacting all the affiliates and getting all the information on their local events. I do have some questions about the Northern Colorado meetup. Which counties are included besides Larimer and Weld? When and where do they meet, and who is the contact?
I could help you answer that.
Okay,
after meeting.
just send it to me so I can get it on the calendar.
Sure.
Okay. Second item, National LP recently sent an email asking people to sign the Already Against the Next Mandate petition. More than 100, as of today, Colorado people have signed this, about 2,200 nationwide. These names are available to local groups on the CRM and might come to a local meeting if the local groups ask them.
Beautiful. And is there a specific query to find those people?
Yes.
Great.
Mike?
Just to add a comment to the also against the next mandate, it made Newsweek today. Literally. The party made Newsweek, the also against the next mandate hashtag made the article. I'll credit Ms. Harless for starting that in the first place. And that's a positive for the party. So that might cause an uptick in stuff too.
Yeah, very much so.
Third item, at the last national headquarters staff meeting, it was reported that because of Biden's national mandate, over $8,000 was raised with minimal promotion. And I believe that an email campaign on this is going out this week.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Something went out today.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not privy, but I'm sure that's going to keep going, you know.
And the last thing, two more items. For communications, a reminder that you can categorize posts as news and press releases, and you can also change the author to LP Colorado with the quick edit function. These are things that are published under Joshua's name, and I think he'd probably prefer that it be the state party.
I would agree, or I'd be happy to sign it, but I want to review it first if I sign it.
Okay.
Mr. Lamont, did you hear that conversation?
I did. I can go fix it.
Okay.
And my last question is, has the unified membership plan been submitted to National?
It has not. I have not received any inquiry from National asking for that.
Well, we passed last meeting.
We did that we were going to participate with it.
Okay, so I believe all you have to do is fill out the form that came with that and send it in.
I will try to find the form. Okay?
And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Hector. Next item, we have our technology director has resigned. He said he would stay on until we find a replacement, but I think out of courtesy to him, we need to find a replacement as quickly as possible. I have an interim replacement for Mike. That's Clayton Caseo has said he'd be willing to step up until the end of the year, but because of his job commitments that are going to change at the end of the year, he won't be able to fulfill that beyond that time frame. So I think it's important that we put the word out and put the request out. Maybe a quick job description. Mike, would you write up a job description and then send it to the board? And then maybe we can get it posted on the Discord as well as our email and get it blasted out.
Yeah, sure. I could probably do that. It's nothing too crazy.
You've made some changes to what was done when Clayton was doing it, so I think your input would be very valuable. So including everything, including setting up emails and all the different intricacies of the process that you go through, I think we have to make sure that the people that are considering this position know what the job would entail.
Okay.
Mr. Chair. So we have to, go ahead, Mr. Seabat.
Forgive me for the indulgence, but Mike, thank you for all you've done for us over your time doing this.
Yeah. No, it's fun. I've been grateful for the opportunity. So.
No, it's been awesome having you on board. All right, now, so we have a written resignation from Mike, and but we have to accept his resignation. Do we have any objections to accepting his resignation?
Yeah, I object. Hotel California.
I knew that was
baby.
coming.
It's been rejected 11-0, is that right?
All right, thank you once again.
Before he cuts me off, I vote no.
Yeah, and then I could probably come next month too for the handoff if Clayton wants to do that.
That would be
Just to hand
fantastic.
over all the stuff.
With your permission, may I send him your contact information?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good, I'll do that. Do any of you guys that are involved with the Mises group know any young people that would be savvy with this type of work that would have an interest?
We asked a couple times, but no one's stepped up yet. If
Okay.
anything, like one of us could just like, if it comes down to it, just set it up.
It's just managing a Google Workspace.
Yeah.
Well, let's just
Yes.
let's just keep looking. We have the next couple months covered, but we have to be tenacious about this and make sure we keep looking, because we don't want to be in a spot at the first of the year where we don't have somebody to handle that need.
We could, if it came to it, we could handle that in a couple of minutes. It's not a big deal.
Thank
But
you.
we did ask a
Thank you for
couple times.
volunteering, Mr. King.
I mean, that's not, I'm not a volunteer.
Oh, he's using my line.
All right, next item here, we have committee reports. We have Style Committee. I believe Mr. Seebeck is the chair of that, so you have anything to bring to us, Mr. Seebeck?
All is quiet on the nitpicking, grammatical, and Oxford comma front.
Are we gonna meet?
We have nothing to meet for tomorrow, do we?
Come on, we gotta review shit, don't
Well, we got time, I mean.
we? Okay, well, yeah, it's fine.
We have quite a bit of time on that one.
Yeah.
All right, the Messaging Committee, Mr. Lalmont, would you like to give us an update on the Messaging Committee's meeting and what you came to as any decisions that you want to move forward with?
Yeah, so we met our first meeting yesterday, and we came up with a proposal. I want to move to approve a budget of up to $3,000 for a billboard, messaging plan with a message on COVID mandates to be approved by the committee.
Okay,
Second.
didn't we approve a motion last
No.
month? We did not.
No, the motion last month was that the messaging committee would meet and come to the board with a budget and a broad topic, which
Okay,
they have.
forgive me, we have a motion to approve a budget of $3,000 for the billboard messaging plan, and we have a second. Do we have any discussion?
A big discussion about what we would want to say on it. We kind of came up with the COVID thing, but we kind of want to say it in a way that kind of encompasses like I think what libertarianism is about. Talking about like my body, my choice. But we've also kind of opened up discussion on the Discord. So, but I think it's a positive message that will be very connected to people who see it right now.
Thank you, Mr. Lamont. Any other discussion? Go ahead.
This might sound very presumptuous of me to say, since I've been in this position for 10 whole minutes, but I did look at the last treasurer's report, which was fairly recently, and I can second Ms. Harlow's comments from last month's meeting, that there is enough cash on hand to cover this fairly easily. So if anyone has any concerns about the budgetary impacts, that's taken care of.
Thank you. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, we'll bring this to a vote. Hearing none, Madam Secretary, would you take a roll call?
Mr. Burrows?
Aye.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
I will vote yes. Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Lallemont?
Yes.
Mr. Labrie?
Yes.
Mr. Lutz?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, it's 9-0.
Okay, that passes once again easily. Do we have a report from the Policy Manual Subcommittee?
We haven't met yet, and that's my fault.
Okay, would you place that on the agenda for next month?
It'll be on there each time before we're finished.
Okay, as a reminder?
Yeah.
All right. Convention Committee. Mr. Lutz, do you have anything for us tonight?
I laid most of it out in my written report, but there will be a motion tied to my report if it is in order. We had a lot of interest expressed in people getting on the committee and as well as helping to do things with convention. And I see a couple of those people are here in the chat. I don't know if any are there in person, but I wanted to see if we got their applications in and see if we could get them on the committee.
Madam Secretary, do we have any applications received for the Convention Committee?
I've sent all the applications that meet the minimum qualifications to Mr. Lutz. Unfortunately, we're getting a ton of applications from people who aren't party members. So I'm going to be sending out another email, and I'm going to make it much more explicit so that people who aren't party, because I don't want them to feel like they're wasting their time when they didn't understand that that was a requirement. But I think another email blast might shake up the bushes a little, but the short answer is none that he isn't aware of.
Okay.
I'm not seeing any. I may have missed them too.
Well, there was that one gentleman. Was it Reed?
Mr.
It was Reed.
Dodson.
Reed.
Yes.
That was it.
Okay. No others have come in the.
That are libertarians. Like I just got another one today from somebody who wasn't a libertarian. I don't know what it is about this particular position. Because I don't get that with any others. It's just this one. I don't know why non-libertarians want to design our convention so badly.
Who is handling the post for needs on the Discord server at this point?
Say again?
Who is handling the needs that we may have that we want to post on Discord? Would that be something we need to talk to you about? Josh, can you do that? Or do we need to reach out maybe to Mr.
Anyone can post on that. If you want to make a post, just like drop it in general, and then we'll make an announcement on there. It's not like a director type
Mr.
setup.
Lutz, would you put that together and get it on Discord? And Mr. Lamont, would you make sure you get that on Facebook? Not only on the state page, but see if you can get it put on the activist page, as well as the unfiltered page. Mr. King?
Here's where my concern is. We need to put a time limit, and I mean a tight time limit, no more than 72 hours for deadline for applications, because I want to have this voted on no later than Friday so that I can set up a meeting by no later than Sunday. We are behind the ball. We don't have a location. We don't have a date, and we need a committee to vote on all of this stuff. I was hoping to get that done tonight at this meeting and have that first one set up by this Friday. But if we're going to resubmit the whole application process from here, I'd like to put a 72-hour time limit on it.
Mr. Luce, we can certainly do that. You can always add members after the fact if you have to, but I share your concern and the need to try to get it done ahead of time here. Mr. King?
Aaron and Jacob, I see you guys are on the call. Are you guys registered, and have you submitted like an application?
Yes and yes.
Yes and yes, although I'm wondering if maybe the applications were submitted incorrectly, because I don't know. It was a weird thing putting in all the information for it. It wasn't really specifically an application for that. But I can always refill out something if need be.
Yeah, the application we filled out was a national volunteering application, so I'm also not sure if that was right, but we both did fill that out.
Yeah, to clarify, I received through the volunteer form on the website, so I'm not sure if that's the exact correct.
Ms. Harlow?
Yeah, I would never have seen that. But we have them. They're both registered libertarians. Is there any reason why we can't appoint them right now to the convention committee?
I see no reason at all. Would you like to make a motion to that?
I would defer to Mr. Lutz, since this is his committee.
Okay, Mr. Lutz, would you like to make a motion to vote in the 2 people that have applied so far?
3, actually. It's Mr. Luria, Erin, she hates when I use formal, and Mr. Dotson, because his application actually was the one that I got from Ms. Harlos.
Okay. There's been a motion put on the table. I will restate it. The motion is to appoint the 3 people that Mr. Lutz just told us about to the convention committee. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Chair. Do we have, yes.
90 days signed D of the business session of the last convention is what date?
We started the committee then.
Right. The bylaws specifically state that the committee shall be appointed by the board within 90 days of adjournment, signed D.
Right, and we did, but we're adding to
Started
it.
last month. I would suggest that that's out of order because the committee needed to be appointed by that point.
No, I would disagree. Well, I'm not gonna say anything. This is up to the chair.
I'm gonna make a decision here. We're gonna go ahead and appoint these 3 people if they're voted in. Do we have any objection to the 3 applicants that we have on hand right now? Hearing no objection, Daniel, you had your first 3 volunteers. Please schedule a meeting, but we'll continue to put a call out for additional help.
Thank you. Oh, Mr. Chair, if I may, I would like that to be the end of adding of voting positions, though. I don't want this to become something that kind of spirals out of control. As many volunteers, help, assistants, and people to fill the other roles as possible. But I would like to close the voting committee seat.
Okay, I wasn't able to hear very well. Could you, Madam Secretary, would you restate what
He said he believes the committee is complete at this point, so that we do not need to add any more voting positions.
Okay.
But as many volunteers as we can get.
That's kind of what I said, I thought. Okay.
My apologies.
All right. Special orders?
That's not 8:45, plus I want to get to our business first, so if we don't get to that, we don't get to that.
6 minutes before that.
I'm going to move to table that when 8:45 comes, because I think we have other business to get to first.
Unfinished business and general orders, we have, number 1, notify the Board of, what's that?
I did that in my report. I didn't realize I had this elsewhere.
Phone banking national memberships. Mr. LaBrie.
Do you know what, so you said we have about 6 weeks. Do you know what the exact hard date deadline is for that?
October 31st.
October 31st. And then where are we currently sitting? Do you know?
It's
where
in
you get that?
OneNote, and I closed OneNote by accident, but under unfinished business, I have the current national membership report. I know we're number 12, as far as how many national members. I don't have the exact, I'd have to get back into OneNote.
That brings me to one more point, Mr. LaBrie, if you would. Thank you for providing the number of national memberships that are from Colorado. But I'd like to see a comparison of this month to the previous month. Are we going up?
So
are we
just
going
start
down?
including
Where
the
do we stand?
deltas.
Yeah, just give me a compilation. Are we going up? Are we going down? Where do we stand?
Sounds good.
If you would add that to your report in the future.
Hold on, I'm pulling up. Okay, we're currently number 13. We went down to 536 national members.
If I recall correctly, our goal was to be 8.
At least,
At
we'd
least
like to
10.
be in the top 10,
Okay.
but I think 8 is what we're capable of.
So we've done the past, right?
Yes, we've been up to 8 before. And 8's not that far away. Michigan's at 8 right now with 618, so we're under 100, you know, to do it. But of course, the other states aren't going to remain stagnant either. But for everyone who doesn't know, the reason to do this is not just to have more national members. Our delegates, the delegate allocation cutoff is October 31st. So delegate allocations is based upon national members. The more national members we have, the more delegates we have. We're right now going to have less delegates than we had, I think, by 2 last convention. And particularly with all the new Mises Caucus members that we've brought in, like new members, we want to send delegates. So we need to get those national members up, or we're only going to have, I think, 30 or 31 seats, rather than the 33 we had last time.
And that's doesn't sound like a lot, but it's significant. So we need to do full court press on this. So the more volunteers that we can make to make the phone calls, that's great. Kieran Ann and I will do the expired national members. We're going to go ahead and volunteer for that right now.
Cool.
But you guys got to run with everything else. And there's no reason we have to stop at 100. The more we get, the more delegates we have at the national convention.
And listen, I'll pour out my personal troubles to get national members. For anyone who is concerned about the whole unfortunate events of last month, the only people that can go and listen to the Judicial Committee hearing when it's scheduled is national. You have to be a National Party member to be allowed on that call. So if anyone wants to hear everything that's going on that Judicial Committee hearing, which I'd say everyone should because the National Party's in trouble, you need to be a national member. So that's a selling point to anyone who wants to be on that call.
Okay. We have a guest who would like, if we have no objection, I will go ahead and entertain that. Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't.
Please identify yourself.
I'm Chad. I'm the pro tem chair of Adams.
Oh, okay.
Good.
I just had a question. So, is there a way to verify if your membership at National is current? Because I definitely was a dues-paying member. I don't know if there's a way to tell.
I believe David can go in the CRM, correct?
We don't have to do it now. I was just curious. I
Yeah.
actually have David's info.
Yeah, David, I believe, can check in the CRM.
We need something that scales better. Is there like a link you can just go to and like enter your information?
No, national, they're working on that.
Just checking if you're a member.
Yeah, they're working on that. They're working on something called like My LP that will give you where you can change the issues you're interested in and things like that, but it's not implemented yet.
I was working on that in 2008.
I think they're getting close though, actually. David might know more.
Yeah, they are getting closer. It's a question of, funding and manpower and all that other stuff.
Okay. Next item of business is the paintball event. Mr. Luce, would you like to speak to that?
Yes. So I've been talking with the American Paintball Coliseum in east of Denver there. It's the only indoor paintball venue that I've actually been able to find in the metro area, or even outside. And it seems like a fairly easy plug-and-play fundraising event. Fairly light front-end cost of about $500 to do a after.
We lost you.
You got hit by a paintball.
Hours.
You were cutting out, Daniels. Give us that last point again, please.
So the buy-in for an after-hours event, which would be from about 7 to 10, 3 hours, we get the venue entirely to ourselves, would be about $500. If we want to try and do it during the day, it comes to about $250. I think we could swing that fairly easily. I need to re-verify this, but I believe at $40 a person, that would be a nice donation to the party, as well as cover equipment rental and the first little set of paintballs. I need to do some more discussion with them about other things we can do with fundraising, but anyone who has ever been to a paintball event or anything like that, there's a lot of different fun things that you can do with it. It's a indoor arena, so this is something that if it's enjoyable, we can do this kind of throughout the year. It's a real simple plug and play event.
If we did it during the day, Daniel, would we have a section of the arena to ourselves, or would there be other people that are not part of the Libertarian Party fundraising event also participating?
As I understand it, we would have kind of like a small section to ourselves, which might even limit the top number that we could have in like one arena at a time.
Okay. I think it's time probably to put out a feeler and see what type of participation we can count on. Obviously, the more people we have, the smaller the bite for everybody's going to be, and we'll be able to generate a little bit more money from that event. Do you have a motion in there anywhere, Mr. Lutz?
I am actually considering it be putting money out front, and they said they'd be okay with about a 2-week notice for a private event so that they could do the staffing, which at I figured we could do like a tiered pricing. The the first 20 people or so can get in for 40, but once we have that, if we have enough people to come in to get that 500 covered well before that 2 weeks, I'd be willing to do an email motion at that point for that 500 to go ahead and lock everything down.
Okay.
That didn't make sense to me, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I got it.
No, but I don't. I'm trying to understand.
Okay, let me $500 is what we would have to put out to rent the venue. If we get at $40 a pop, that would be 10, 12, 13 people. If we get 13 people that say they are willing to come to this paintball event and put the $40 down for that, we can lock on the venue, and then everyone else that comes in after that is additional money, basically.
Okay, I have a little bit of a problem with that. I'm not comfortable with like taking money and then giving it back if we don't get it. To me, we either commit or we don't. Like, I don't want to be like, well, let's see if we get 13 people and then we'll do the motion. To me, we set up the event and we see how it goes. If you tell people it's not certain, we're just seeing if we can get 13, that's just really flaky to me.
That's fair.
What month did you plan on holding this event, Mr. Lutz?
I was thinking either Friday, October, I think that's the 8th, or Saturday, the 9th.
Okay, so that's coming up fairly quickly. And you
That'd be
need to
about a
reserve-
month out, yeah.
And you need to reserve at least a couple of weeks in advance. I think out of fairness to the event host, we should probably try to do it ahead of time. So,
Well, who here would go on the board?
I'd go.
Oh, I want to shoot y'all.
Well, you'll go and take paintballs.
I'll go paintball.
Okay.
I would
I don't
absolutely.
think we're gonna have any trouble. So, Daniel, would you like to make a motion to go ahead and get this started right now?
Yes, let's go ahead and I move that we allocate $500 for the American Paintball Coliseum to lock on their venue for a nighttime paintball fundraising event.
Second.
Any further discussion or questions for Daniel? Hearing none, I'm just gonna ask, do we have any objections to this?
No, I'm looking forward to this, man.
Hearing no objections, that passes.
Good to go. I'll call them tomorrow and get everything locked on.
Very good. And Daniel, we can pay them either through PayPal, or I should have our debit card in hand in the next couple days. So just let me know if they can take PayPal. If we can, you can reach out to Mr. Hirschman and he can make arrangements for that. If they need a debit card, I don't have it yet, but I should have it shortly.
Good to go. And as I understand it, the cost does go by per person. So once that would 500 covers up to 25 people. So after that, as those people sign on and make the donation, we can move that money to cover those additional costs, if that makes sense.
Does to me. Okay. Next item of business is the renewal of our insurance policy.
Is someone already just taking care of that?
We're going past 8:45.
Okay, I move to, table, and this is actually legitimately a table, the current item that's a special order until we finish current business, which we're not gonna finish tonight, so it's gonna end up just dying.
How important do you feel it is?
I feel our current business is more important.
Okay.
Wait, real quick, are you talking about the insurance policy right now?
Well, there was something that was supposed to happen at 8:45, and I'm just saying, unless there's an objection, I'm just saying we forget about that for right now and just continue with our current business. And the current business at hand is the insurance policy.
Okay.
But I thought somebody said on the list they were just renewing it. Am I incorrect, or?
I'll reach out to John.
John said it was like $69 to renew it for the
I'll
monthly
reach out to
payment, and I
John
said
about
that
that
was just
tomorrow.
normal business and you should just pay it, and that's the end of that.
I think it's, right, a normal cost of, we have to have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no question. This is not something we really, if we want to do anything, we have to renew the policy, so. I'll address that tomorrow myself. Next item is the LPCO Teespring merchandise store. And I believe this is something that Ms. Harlow's put on the agenda.
For Mr. Kane.
For Mr. King. So would you like to speak to this, Mr. King?
Yeah, I'll speak to this for a second. Chad's here. He got this set up. He has an apparel business and he has several graphic designers, and they donated a bunch of different artwork. So I will make a motion in a second, but I just maybe want to open for some discussion for a second, because Ms. Reynolds sent an email to the board saying that there could be like FEC implications or whatever. I don't even know that from from my perspective. National has a merch store, so I just don't know what the implications are there. But Chad's worked hard on it, and he's like fronted to pay artists to make some of this stuff. And then the other thing to maybe discuss is that to incentivize like artists to continue making good stuff, to split the net of what they make on that merch store. So you make $10 a shirt, half goes to the artist, half goes to the LP, and the artist could just donate to the LP if they want to. But that gets professional designers involved, so we could have a lot of different cool stuff instead of like someone just trying to wing it and having some shady shirts no one buys. Open to discussion now. Unless Chad, you wanted to say something.
I think she had her hand up, but I'm happy to talk about it.
No, you could go first, please.
Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, so I don't know if anyone here doesn't know me. I'm Chad. I'm a professional YouTuber by trade. That's how I pay the lights. But funnily enough, I did my hands in lots of things kind of all over the place. And I remember joining the LP officially. I've been a Libertarian since I was 15 in 2020. And I was really stoked to join the National Party, wanted to buy some stuff from them so I could rep it, and I did. And I clicked the Colorado page because I was like, all right, now I'm going to join the Colorado group and get some stuff from theirs. And sent me to the national page, which is fine. I don't mind national, but I figured maybe I could help here. And I reached out to the former leadership and kind of, I didn't hear anything back, which is fine. When the convention happened, I reached out again and immediately got plugged into Ryan and to Josh and to all these guys, and they just had this attitude like, how can we help? So I got some of my designers from my job to basically volunteer their time because they really believe in the liberty message. And they gave at least a starting about 8 really well designed designs that took us 3 months of planning on. And on top of lots of planning on different sites. I probably spent $300 of my own dollars just getting samples from every type of site that fulfills, just to see which ones are the best and which ones give out the best paid. And we found a site that looks good. It's Teespring, it functions well, the payout's good. And once all that was said and done, you know, I showed Ryan, I showed a few people just to see what it looks like, and I'm really proud of what it looks like. One other thing I'll mention, I just looked it up again. I clicked on the store button today, especially for the last couple of weeks. I don't know if you guys can see, I know it's in Japanese, I'm sorry, my phone's in Japanese. It's an error. It's because National updated their site, their merch store, weeks ago, and it's broken. So that's not on our page. Our page is fine. Like literally, if you go on right now to try and buy merch or shop on the Colorado LP page, you just get an error. So I just wanted to offer something that looks really good. If you guys would like to see what I worked on, I made it live for tonight so you guys can look. Obviously, I want to hear your thoughts because I don't know if you can tell by how my voice sounds, I'm not much of a lone wolf, so.
Okay. Ms. Harlows?
Just to go to Ms. Reynolds' comments, I think her comments are fair, but I don't think I know the answer. It wouldn't be LPC, but I know what she was getting at, so I'm not going to quibble on whatever statist alphabet soup. I think she's more thinking Colorado, because I don't think there'd be federal implications, though there might be. I'm ignorant. I do think it's something we need to look at, because I know in the past it was always you couldn't buy merchandise from us. It had to be a gift for donation. I don't know how all that works, but I think we have to try to find that out so we don't get in trouble. I mean, I love the idea if we can do it within the law. It just made me want to throw up in my mouth. But whatever the law might be, I know there is some kind of implications. I don't know what they are. The reason we don't have those implications with National is because they got a bunch of lawyers that figured it out, you know. And I think splitting with the artists, which I love the idea, might add another wrinkle, but I don't really know where to go to find out these answers. We don't have an attorney.
If I may.
Go ahead.
I think the first place that we should start is a call to the Secretary of State's office. They are incredibly, and I know this sounds terrible, praising an alphabet soup organization, but surprisingly enough, the Colorado Secretary of State's office is very knowledgeable, fairly efficient, and relatively
Hush your mouth.
Are you in the right state? Are you in the right dimension?
Are you in the right party?
You're in the right universe.
So now that I've absolutely ejected myself from all the social circles, just as a cover our own behinds, I think that would be kind of a good place to start. Then we would have to look at there is an aggregate maximum amount that one individual, if it is set up where like the artist is the one donating to the party, they can ultimately only donate $2,500 directly to the state party. There's a couple of other things like when it does come to merchandise and whatnot. So there's enough to look at here that I don't think we should jump on it just yet, but I do like this idea a lot.
Okay, this falls under two purviews, outreach as well as fundraising. Mr. Caden, would you be willing to partner with Mr. Lutz and get us a solid answer on this, on what mechanism we have to put in place in order to pull this off?
Sure, yeah, or I can take point on it if you're busy, Lutz.
I can put in the call to the Secretary of State's office, and I'll let you know what I find out from them.
Perfect, and I'll just run from it with what you find.
Okay.
All right.
Ink here. The interesting thing is, because I don't know how to structure all this shit, but the interesting thing there, if you scroll down a little bit, it's the product model and that green like revenue flow, if you check that out. And this model is like really, I think it's really innovative. And the gist of it is it allows our members to submit news articles, get them edited, and if they choose to update them, they can or not, and then they would publish it onto Torch News. And so half of your revenue goes to your member creators. 20% of that revenue goes directly to the LPCO. $1 out of 10 pays for the editor. $1 out of 10 pays for all the technical stuff, and then another $1 out of 10 is like your payment processing and your other like fees and stuff associated with that. The person I was really interested in this and is going to partner and do the editorial stuff with this is called Scott Grayson. He's an attorney here in Colorado. He was really excited about this, and he volunteered to be the editor. And we kind of did a dive into the legality of this, and if it's a separate entity, if it's an LLC, and it has a contract with the Libertarian Party of Colorado, as from what he could tell from diving into it, that's like totally kosher, which might be a model for or how the store would work, or not, I don't know, but yeah, I was going to motion this, but it's getting late, and also we probably would have to look into like the exact legality. You already kind of did that, but I'll come with a hard motion like next session. But just kind of want to maybe just open the floor for some feedback on that.
We are out of time right now. Would anybody like to move to extend for 10 minutes?
I motion to extend for 10 minutes.
Second.
Any objection? Okay. Next item on the agenda here is $100 a month for social media ads.
Do you want to discuss this real quick, the Torch News partnership, real quick? You want to have any input, or you just want to move on?
I was gonna say this is kind of like the next phase of how we do this newsletter. I'm thinking is also where basically right now we suffer from like we can only put out a quarterly newsletter at the most, just because there's not that many people who want to write. So if we can get a bunch of people publishing articles, then we could also roll this into like on Torch News. Then we could also roll that into the newsletter, where we can kind of take the best of Torch News and then put that in the print edition. So that would be, again, like Ryan said, the legalities of things aside, some kind of part of the contract would be the LP Colorado reserves the right to publish some of this stuff.
What mechanisms have you used to try to find people to write articles?
I put stuff out on the Discord pretty much. Received about like 3 articles so far, I believe.
We haven't done any emails or any Facebook stuff?
No, we haven't blasted it on social media yet.
Okay. We also, I think it's worthwhile to send out an email to all the LPCO Colorado people.
Okay.
So if you put together an email, do not ask David to write it. Just write it for him, and then ask him to send it, and he'll send it to me for review, and if approved, it'll go out. We do have a limitation on how many emails we can send out, guys. So anytime we can send one email out that has maybe 2 or 3 items on it, it works very much to our advantage. So we have several items right now that we need to send emails out. So David, if you would kind of compile 2 or 3 per email if we can,
Sure.
so that we can, not run out of emails.
We can send out 50,000 emails per month. Okay, that's about 8. And what I typically do with stuff that people write is I create a post for it, so it's on the website, and I list it in the email so that people know to go to it.
Okay. Thank you, David.
I was also going to add that we started our Substack going. I should have put that in my report, but anyways, we got the Substack going. A couple articles on there. We've had like a couple comments as well, which is cool to see engagement live instead of just spitting something out into the ether and looking for a response. But I think this model actually is something that will work, is like getting the online with like people actually able to comment on it and share it directly from the website instead of just like a print newspaper that shows up at a table or their house. So
the audience for this potentially with our social accounts is huge, and it could drive like a ton of revenue.
And growth, just in general.
Okay. Any further discussion on that? Is there anything we need to take action on this at this point?
No, I'll come back with, I'll talk to Scott and also get more clarity on the Teespring stuff and figure out like exactly the legality on this, and then I'll come back with official motion for the next board meeting.
Okay. Next item here, Mr. Kane, is this yours also?
This is mine also. I think this is the last item, so let's just hit this quick. I'm asking for $100 a month for social media ads, and $59 a month for Typeform, and I just threw in those rolling toolboxes, 2 of them for $86.75 each. We already discussed the toolboxes several times. I think those are solid. The Typeform, that's a tool I popped up when we had the COVID response meeting, and it's done really well so far. Just the gist of what Typeform is, instead of having these giant long forms, it has what's called conversational forums. They have way higher conversion rates, and then it has all these like hooks that you can hook into and automatically make mailing lists and all sorts of stuff like that. So if you combine that with the social media ads, we could send. There's a lot of stuff you can send out. You can do call of actions. You can get people to sign up for different things. And like one of the templates is they have political polls, so we could send out polls to our members and get the pulse of them. So that all would kind of work together at the same time.
Okay. We have to address these one at a time. Do you have a motion on the $100 a month social media ads?
Do we have to address them all at once, or can I do them all at once?
I think they need to be done individually.
All right, I motion for $100 a month for social media ads.
Second. Any objection?
Questions?
Yeah, sure.
I know we've got a decent bank account right now, but what is our current monthly expenditure? Because I know our current monthly intake fluctuates between $200 and $600 a month.
Well,
I'm just wondering how much upside down we're getting.
Unfortunately, John is not here tonight, and our new treasurer, I know you've looked at the our account, but I'm reasonably certain that you haven't memorized it. So I think last time I looked at it, which was recently, Daniel, there's plenty of money to pay for this. Our monthly expenditures are less than $500 a month.
All right, I want to address that with 2 points real quick. Just first of all, totally understand that. Actually 3 points. These will be for you could get a return on these easily. If you just sign up like a couple of people from that social media outreach, like $100 a month could get us in front of several thousand people in the state of Colorado. And so if you had just like a marginal return rate of dues paying members, it'd pay for itself and grow the party. And the other thing is these are monthly, so we could come back in the next board meeting and be like, hey, we're just burning this money, we're not seeing returns, and you're not committing to a whole year of these expenses.
Mr. King, is there a contract or is it monthly?
It's pay as you go, so you could even like on your slider set it to like $20 a month if you want.
Okay.
But I'm asking for 100. If we get a good conversion rate, we should just keep scaling that up until it taps out.
Okay, Mr. LeBrie?
I was just gonna answer Daniel's question, sort of, was that in the treasurer?
What I would suggest, and I'd be willing to help with, Daniel, what I used to do, even though I wasn't fundraising, it was just because I felt bad about spending the money. I have found that if we go to our membership and say, hey, we're going to start running a social media ad campaign. Would you like to donate to the party to help us do this? We get people who think we should be doing that will donate money. Same thing with the billboard thing. I'm fully intending upon writing an email for David that says, hey, we're embarking on this ambitious thing with a COVID messaging. Do you support that? You can contribute to it. So I think when we start spending this money for certain things, we need to ask the members to donate to pay for it, because it will scratch some people where they itch. And I've always gotten checks every time I've asked for that. So each time, I would hope we could commit, each time we do something like this that's kind of sexy, that we also concurrently with it ask the members for money to help pay for it. But I bet you we get some money for this because some people think we need to do more of that.
Yeah, so this is going to be based around COVID, obviously, because it's just like the issue right now. And like the LPCO Twitter account just did some retweets, and they raised like hundreds of dollars for national from that. So so all this money's there if you ask for it.
But I think every single thing we do, we should turn into a fundraising pitch. I mean, that's what National does.
Yep.
And what's the worst that happens? We don't get anything? But I bet you we do.
So since we can, this is pay as you go, if we're not getting anything, we can simply pull the plug on it, so I see no reason not to pursue this. Do we have any further discussion?
Go ahead, I think.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say, I didn't want to make it sound like I was necessarily against it. I just want to make sure that we're always checking our books before we dive into something like this.
Well, Daniel, the last review I did on our treasurer's report, we are in very, very good shape financially for small expenses like this, so.
Not being locked in is not.
Pretty good. I reviewed the last treasurer report that I had in hand, and we have plenty of money for things like this. And frankly, I think especially if we can turn this into a fundraising opportunity, we'd only need a couple people to help pay for it, to donate. So I think, unless there's any objections, I want to bring this to a vote.
Second.
Okay. The motion is to put aside $100 a month for social media ads, and I'm going to ask that our treasurer, as well as Mr. King, keep an eye on the return on the investment so that we can keep our eye on the ball. Do we have any objections to $100 a month to be applied towards social media ads? Hearing none, that passes. Next one, Mr. King.
Typeform just gave a speech about that. Motion to allocate $59 a month for Typeform.
And is this an opportunity for us to generate some income as well?
Yes. Yep. There's a lot of ways that this could be extremely useful. And you could take credit cards right in that Typeform too for single issue things. You could, there's all sorts of hooks you can tie into and just pipe these email lists right into our Google Drive, all sorts of stuff. So this could be like a really, really high return on $59 a month.
Okay.
Is this pay as you go as well?
Pay as you go as well. Yep.
Nice.
We have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll bring that to a vote as well. Do we have any objections to $59 a month to be spent on Typeform? Hearing none, that also passes. Our next item is $173.50 one-time payment for two Black & Decker rolling toolboxes. We're going to use these for the, if I recall correctly, as a rolling supply chest for any of our affiliates that need to get supplies from the state party to man their booths or events. We discussed this 4 months ago, and we agreed to this. So would you like to make a motion on that, Mr. King?
Yeah, motion to allocate $173 for two Beyond My Black & Decker rolling stackable toolboxes, $86.75 each, and it might go over a little bit for tax, so plus tax.
Okay. Would you like to amend, maybe change that motion? Let's perfect it a little bit. Let's put a little bit extra in there to
How
cover any
about for
tax.
up to $200?
Yes. So we have a motion, we have a amendment that's been added, so we'll be voting on the amendment to raise that to $200 to make sure that if there's any tax costs, we can cover
And
that.
it looks like the price went up to $89.75 right now. I just looked at the ad, the thing.
Bastards.
Okay, that should, $200 should cover that. So we're voting on the amendment now to change the motion from $173.50 to $200. Up to $200. And,
I need a second.
do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any objection? The motion passes, so now the motion on the amendment passes, so the motion on the table is up to $200 for a one-time payment of 2 rolling stackable toolboxes.
Second.
We have a second. Do we have any discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, that also passes. We have a last-minute opportunity for any public comment before we shut this down. Anybody have anything you want to bring to the table? You have 2 minutes if you do.
Just very
Mr. Atwood, go
briefly, thank you for public comments at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, that was an easy public comment. Thank you, Frank.
I'm pissed at my city council that refuses to do that.
Having no further business, we adjourn.
So, Ryan, I guess we all need to get together to look at those. I got the list together of all the suggestions.
We don't need to
To decide, to narrow down and decide. I think there's some good ones on there.
I think we could roll with like 5 of those. I mean, we'd see the.